Assalamu alaikum and welcome back. In our financial lives, we've all got a toolkit. And today we're going to unpack one of its most powerful and, let's be real, controversial items, consumer credit. Just think of it like a multi-tool. It can be incredibly useful, but only if you know how to handle it. All right, let's be honest. The word credit itself, it can bring up some pretty strong feelings, right? For some people, it's the key that unlocks their biggest goals. But for others, it just feels like this dangerous trap waiting to spring. So what's the real story? So let's just tackle this head on. Is it a helpful tool or a dangerous trap? Well, the truth is it's both. Credit isn't inherently good or bad. The real difference between it being a tool that builds your future and a trap that buries you. It all comes down to one knowledge, and that's exactly what we're going to build today. If you're thinking this is maybe some niche topic, I want you to take a long look at this number. 1.63 trillion ringgit. That is the mountain of household debt right here in Malaysia. And this isn't just some abstract number on a spreadsheet. It's a reality that affects millions of us every single day. Understanding this stuff isn't just smart, it's absolutely essential. Okay, so first things first, let's reframe how we think about this. Forget good or bad for a second. At its absolute core, consumer credit is just an arrangement. It's a way to get something now and pay for it later. The trick is to stop thinking of it as just debt and start seeing it for what it truly is, a financial tool. And when you handle this tool the right way, man, the advantages are undeniable. It can be that safety net when an emergency pops up. It makes online shopping a breeze. And it's definitely safer than carrying a wad of cash. But you know what the biggest benefit might be? That last one on the list. You use credit responsibly, you build a positive financial reputation, and that opens up all kinds of doors for your future. But just like any good toolkit, not all credit is the same. You got to know what you're working with. And broadly speaking, it comes in two main flavors. On one side, you have open-end credit. The easiest way to think about this is a credit card. It's like a revolving door of money. You borrow, you repay, and you can borrow again. It's all about flexibility. On the other side is closed-end credit. This is more of a one-and-done deal. Think of a car loan or a housing loan. You get a lump sum for a specific reason, and there's a clear finish line for paying it back. And wow, it seems Malaysians have a clear favorite here. So more than half of us have at least one credit card. But look at the usage numbers, because that tells the real story. The average credit card gets used more than twice as often as a debit card. This tells us we're not just holding on to these cards, we're actively using them as a core part of our daily financial lives. So when you go to apply for that loan or that new credit card, what's actually happening behind the scenes? How do banks decide if you're a good bet or not? Let's pull back the curtain and see exactly how they judge your credit worthiness. Lenders use this classic checklist called the 5 C's of credit. Think of it like this. They're asking, what's your character? Are you a reliable person who pays their bills? What's your capacity? Can you actually afford to pay this back? What's your capital? What's your financial cushion like? Do you have any collateral? Something you can offer up as a backup? And finally, what are the conditions? Like, why do you need the money right now? Now, of those 5 C's, there's one that stands way above the rest in Malaysia, and that's capacity. Banks measure it with one really important number, your debt service ratio, or DSR. All it is the percentage of your monthly income that's already going towards paying off other debts. And you absolutely need to know this number because for most Malaysian banks, it's the very first thing they look at. What's a good DSR? Well, as you can see on this chart, lower is always better. If you're under 35%, you're golden. Banks are usually okay up to around the 60% mark, but once you start creeping up towards 70%, that's when the alarm bells start ringing for them. The big takeaway here, keeping your DSR under 60% is pretty much the key to getting that. Yes. Okay, so getting approved is just the first hurdle. Next, you have to understand the real cost of borrowing money. This is where things can get a little confusing with all the jargon about interest rates and fees. But let's break it down real simple. You're going to see a lot of acronyms thrown around, but you only need to focus on these two. First is APR, the annual percentage rate. Just think of this as the all-in price tag for a loan. It includes fees and interest. You can use it to compare offers, apples to apples. Then for a lot of Malaysian loans, you'll see SBR, the standardized base rate. All you need to remember about this one is that it's tied to the national interest rate. So if that rate goes up or down, your monthly payment will too. And this brings us to what is without a doubt the single biggest danger with credit. The minimum payment trap. I mean, just look at this example. A simple 2,000 ringgit debt could take you over 22 years to pay off if you only make the minimum payments. And the cost, almost 4,800 ringgit in interest alone, you end up paying back way more than double what you borrowed. Right here is how small debts spiral into monsters. So what do you do if you find yourself struggling? I know it can feel completely overwhelming, but listen, it is never hopeless. There are clear, actionable strategies you can use to escape the debt trap and get back on your feet financially. You know, the first step to getting out of a hole is to realize you're in one. So let's do a quick honest check-in. Are you stuck in that minimum payment trap we just talked about? Is your total debt actually going up each month instead of down? Are you dipping into savings for everyday stuff? Worse, borrowing from one card just to pay another one. These are the red flags. If any of this sounds familiar, it's time to take action. Okay, so once you're ready to really attack that debt, there are two main battle plans. You've got the debt snowball, which is all about psychology. Knock out your smallest debts first to get these quick motivating wins. Then there's the debt avalanche. This one is pure math. You target the debts with the highest interest rates first to save the most money in the long run. One builds momentum, the other is more efficient. Honestly, the best method is whichever one you'll actually stick with. Hey, before we go any further, let's just get one thing crystal clear. Struggling with debt is not a personal failure. It's not a moral issue. Life happens. Things get complicated. Debt. The single most important thing to remember is that you do not have to face this alone. Here in Malaysia, there is free, confidential, and professional help available. That help has a name. AKPK is the Credit Counseling and Debt Management Agency. This is an official agency set up by Bank Negara specifically to help Malaysians with their finances. They offer everything from free classes to personalized debt management plans. Seriously think of it as your financial lifeline. It is there for you to use. Which brings us right back to where we started, consumer credit. It isn't good or bad. It is simply a very powerful financial tool. Now that you understand how it works, the good parts, the dangerous parts, the only question left is how are you going to use it? You build with it or be buried by it. The power truly is in your hands. Thanks for watching. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back. You know, in our financial lives, we've all got a toolkit. And today we're going to unpack one of its most powerful and, let's be real, controversial items, consumer credit. Just